Cheers, everyone. Welcome. We are a little over halfway of our first ever digital version of our Women in Craft Beer Festival, Beers Without Beards. So we're here for our worldwide women's toast. The whole Hop Culture team is here to support us through this. So I wanted to just take some time, a few minutes or so, to tell you guys a little bit more about Beers Without Beards and the story behind the festival, and also to chat a little bit more about our partnership with our title sponsor, Bumble, this year. So first, before we get into it, if everyone, whether you're drinking, I see some people are cracking into their Fifth Hammer IPA. What else are people drinking out there? I'm going to be cracking into the Rhythm Blue Light Lager. I think this is it's actually my first beer of the day because I'm out here on the West Coast, and I think this is a perfect one to start with. So team, what are you guys drinking?
I got Crazy Pants.
Crazy Pants. Oh, and we have is that the Resident Culture?
That's it, Resident Culture. Yeah. Some awesome women on that team. This is their fest beer.
Amazing. Well, let's crack into it and pour ourselves a beer. Oh, yeah, that's one of my favorite sounds ever in the world. Cracking into a good beer.
I was saying, like, maybe next time we need to make an ASMR video of just beer sounds.
Different. Yeah.
I think Rachie, by the way, has a Fernsin seltzer from South Dakota.
Oh, nice.
Oh, awesome. Yeah. I've sometimes always wondered if like different styles of beer like sound different when you crack into them. So, John, this is your next story at the magazine. We have to take it.
Yeah, we got to do some groundbreaking research.
Cool. So it looks like everyone has kind of cracked into their own beer that's following along. We have some people drinking the Dreamboat. I see Voodoo Ranger IPA, the Resident Culture as well. Love it. So now that everyone has their beer in hand, I just wanted to take a couple minutes to tell you guys a little bit more about Beers Without Beards, because some of you may not even know why we're all here. And so I want to tell you a little bit more about my journey in the industry and with this festival. So this festival really started for me. It was my graduate school thesis project when I was getting my master's in food studies at NYU. And it really kind of all started with this little experiment, which if you're watching along at home, feel free to play along with. But basically, I would ask people to close their eyes and think about, what was the last beer that you drank? Maybe it was the Fifth Hammer Hop Tones. It was a nice IPA. What did that beer taste like? What were the notes in there? Maybe you get some grapefruit. Maybe you get some citrus. Or maybe the last beer you had was the Ouzel Finch Crazy Pants, which is a basil and tangerine. What were some of those aromas that you got from that? Maybe very floral, very sweet. Now, think about the person that brewed that beer. What does that person look like in your mind? What is the image that you conjure up? Is that person short, tall, big, small, blonde hair, blue-eyed? 9 times out of 10, the image that came up in everyone's mind wasn't someone that looked like me or someone that was a woman, but instead this big kind of burly man, maybe. And there's this very distinct image of a brewer that people had in their minds. And so that's the stereotype that we really wanted to try and break with Beers Without Beards. So I've been working at Hop Culture at the time, and we've been going around the country hosting these craft beer festivals, and thought, we have this expertise in throwing these events. What if we created a festival that had a type of social mission or was socially driven in mind? So that's how Beers Without Beards was born. In that first year, that was 2018, almost 3 years ago now, we created 11 different events that culminated in a large tasting festival that had a little bit over 20 of the top women-led breweries in the country. And we hosted that festival in this huge backyard in a brewery, and it was a bar called The Well in Brooklyn. And I remember the day of the festival, it actually poured, just like raining cats and dogs. I must have changed outfits like 3 times throughout the course of setting things up in the morning. And I just had this like sinking feeling in my stomach. I was like, it's the first year I'm running the festival. Like, it's raining. This is outside. No one's going to show up. And I could not have been more wrong. There was one point during the event when I was standing on top of these shipping containers, because in Brooklyn, shipping containers are used everywhere as a motif in bars. And I was looking out over the entire festival, worrying that, people were going to go home. They were going to leave. It was raining. This is going to be a disaster. And it was the exact opposite. We did have a big tent. And so all these people huddled underneath this big tent. Some people had brought their own umbrellas, and they were standing under their own little umbrellas, like huddled in these little groups. And then you would see like one member would scurry off with like 4 tasting glasses and come back with like 4 beers, and people would just stand under the umbrella and drink these beers. Or under the tent, we had music, so people were just getting close to each other. They were talking, they were creating community. Ultimately, at the end of the day, they were just all there to celebrate the achievements of women in craft beer, and that mission was so important to them that it didn't matter that it was raining. And I think, this year we had a really big vision for Beers Without Beards in 2020. We wanted to host it in New York for a third time and then bring it out to the West Coast for the first time. So it's actually part of the reason why I moved out here to Oakland, was to, host the event on the other side of the country. And then, as we all know, the COVID coaster threw us a curveball. And all of a sudden in March, we had to halt all of our in-person events. And so it became kind of this question of like, where do we go from here? And so many times I've just reflected back in my head on that moment of standing in the rain and looking out and seeing everyone and having this kind of like, deer in headlights moment, and realizing that our community wasn't going anywhere, that this was something that they felt we needed and something that was so important enough to be out in the rain. And so this moment of a downpour really became a moment of inspiration for me and for the rest of the team. So the whole Hop Culture team, we set out into new territory for us to transform Beers Without Beards into a virtual event. And that's where we were able to, we started looking for a partner that would be able to help us kind of dip our toes into the space. And we were lucky enough to have the opportunity to team up with Bumble, which is a social networking platform that encourages users to make meaningful connections and love, friendship, and work. They promote kindness and respect and empowerment. And that's what Beers Without Beards is all about. It's about empowering women and men in the craft beer industry and creating these connections and cultivating these communities. So the app really became the ideal festival partner in order to really continue to promote the mission of Beers Without Beards and to empower women in all aspects of life. And especially in our case, beer. And, Bumble has a lot of experience with hosting events, and especially in a digital space. And so they've really been integral in helping us keep our marquee event of the year alive and well, despite a global pandemic. So that's just a little bit more about the history of Beers Without Beards. If you guys have any questions for me, we have a few minutes before we got to kick everyone off and head into our next event of the afternoon, which is going to be an amazing My Body, My Story art class, which is essentially an interactive art class with Collective Arts and artist Natalie Berry B. She's going to take us through all the steps of drawing a self-portrait of yourself that is empowering and very much within the theme of Beers Without Beards. So if you guys have any quick questions just about Beers Without Beards or what we have going on at Hop Culture, what we have coming up in 2021, feel free to hit us up in the comments. John or Kenny, I don't know if you've seen any come through. I see a lot of people posting different beers they're drinking, which is great. I haven't even taken a sip yet.
Yeah.
My review blogger.
No, I think somebody I saw just said hello from Australia.
Well, that's rad. I guess that is one of the good things about a virtual event, is that we're able to pull in people from all across the country and the world that we haven't necessarily been able to do when we're in one geographic location. So
cool. Definitely. And I think there's a beer in Australia called Hop Culture. We always get tagged on Instagram in their pictures. Yeah.
That's fun.
But no, I think it's super cool to be able to sort of, the lemonade out of lemon story, right? This year of being able to go digital and connect with people that come from all types of different places. I just want to give a huge shout out to you, Grace, for making this happen for the third year in a row, despite the challenges that we faced. I think this all started with your vision, and to have it come to life 2 years now in person and have it be better and to connect with more people every year, and then to be able to transition like this to a digital event and still have it be really successful. I just want to give massive kudos to you and your vision and the work that you've put in to make this event happen. So I'll let you do the toast, but I do want to throw in there that as we raise our beers, part of that should be to Grace and her vision and all the work that she's put in to make this happen.
The whole team. I mean, this wouldn't happen without all of both you, John, and Kenny, and of course, all of our partners. This is Beers Without Beers, empowered by Bumble, and we've also had the chance to team up and create some great events with different breweries. We did a great Bringing the Beer to Life panel with Two Roads that kicked us off on, with Trogs that kicked us off on Wednesday. We had a sensory workshop in collaboration with Two Roads on Thursday. We did a cooking class with New Belgium and the Queer Food Foundation on Friday. And even today, we just did a beer cocktail class in collaboration with Jägermeister. We had a really great panel on Samuel Adams Brewing the American Dream program, which talked about stories from female brewery owners in the industry and how they've succeeded. That was pretty early in the morning. So if anyone out there, if you haven't been able to catch all of the content over the course of the week or even this morning, everything's going to be posted on our YouTube channel. So I highly encourage you to go back and take a look at everything and follow along in some of the classes that you may have missed. But yeah, this is, a team effort and something that we've all been working really hard on to create. And it's just great to see it and see all the people that are joining us for all these rich discussions and classes and interactive workshops. So if everyone has their beer ready, let's all raise it. We'll say toast, cheers to women in beer and to a successful rest of Beers Without Beards now and into the future to come, and to seeing women continue to make great strides in this industry. So cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Cool. Well, I'm going to take some time to drink my beer, I think, and let everyone, get into either take a food break or bathroom break or finish their beer or whatnot. And then I will see everyone in our My Body, My Story art class happening here in about 20 minutes or so.